Don't like football. Except the World Cup.
One way or another, the Irish always looked capable of pulling one back, and even the weather became Celtic. With 20 minutes to go, Robson had a brainwave and decided to put McMahon on as substitute. And with only his third touch of the game, he managed to give the ball to Sheedy to produce the Irish equaliser. The old Wimbledon boot and hope method had prevailed, but at least it rewarded the wholehearted Irish commitment. I'd been apprehensive about filming in the stadium, but it had been a good start with the Irish, warm and friendly. This was Ireland's first trip to the World Cup Finals, and they were just so glad to even be there. For them, it was a well-earned draw, but for England, it was a worrying start. The municipal campsite I'd found was 35 kilometres from the stadium. I'd managed to get back quickly to sleep off the memories of that turgid 90 minutes. But others weren't so lucky. There was no transport laid on to get them back from the stadium, and later I heard there'd been some trouble at the station. I started to take stock of what and who was around me. I wandered around the campsite with a camera, but was conscious of drawing attention to myself. It immediately distanced me from the people I was sharing the campsite with.
Cabbage!
I got the feeling that they were uneasy, and if they were uneasy, I was uneasy. I kept a lowish profile and decided to take things just as they happened. One person who made me more at ease, though, was Gino, the manager of the campsite.
Please ring back in 5 minutes, right? Thank you. Can you go and look for Jason, the tall boy? No, l'altro.
Gino was a sort of tourismic good Samaritan. He didn't have to, but seemed willing enough to take on the welfare of his customers.
This guy's got swollen glands.
Swollen glands?
Yeah.
Now, what can we do for that? I'm not a doctor myself, but yes, Jason, yes.
Despite Gino's efforts, though, there was very little to do except knock a ball about, lie on the beach, or sit in the bar area. For me, that wasn't a problem. But for many, it was a case of being bored and stuck in the middle of nowhere. I started passing time with some lads from Wigan and Leeds. They were quite happy having me around and seemed to like the idea of what I was doing. The alcohol ban 24 hours either side of the match days had run out. I began to relax, and some of the blokes began to clown around with the camera. Just after this was recorded, though, a couple of South Londoners approached me and advised me to put my camera away in the bag. Or, as they so politely put it, we'll kick you all around the bar. I think they meant it. Having been threatened at a time where I thought I was getting on really well with lots of blokes, and things were going really well, and I told them about my project and the job I was doing, and I was doing a sort of portrait of the World Cup, and as far as I was concerned, that it was going to be from not only my point of view, but also their point of view, and going to get their views across. And I made some good friends, and things were going well, but two blokes threatened me anyway, and that scared me. It really did scare me, because I do understand that some of them don't trust any aspect of the press, and I understand that, because people are nicked and they are put away. Because, well, basically, I could be anybody. I could be an undercover copper. I could be tabloid press. I mean, I'm frightened being here every day. There's an underlying atmosphere that is really, really weird. Saturday the 16th of June found me pretty despondent. It was the big head-to-head England v Holland game. Initially, Cagliari seemed strangely subdued. The The word had gone round that the English would march from the station directly to the stadium at 6 o'clock. I sensed trouble, and recent experience warned me that with a video camera on my shoulder, I wouldn't be made that welcome. So I chose not to seek out the scenes of mayhem and paranoia the press had been predicting and building up for so long. Instead, I found somewhere serving drinks and opted for a quiet, illicit beer in the Hotel Mediterranean. A couple of Peronis later, an injured carabinieri, blood streaming down his face, was whisked into the hotel. It was obvious it had all gone off. I ran outside and joined the people out on the street, but for the second time in 2 days, things got scary. I sought safety behind the cover of a hot dog van and watched while the carabinieri and press moved in. They'd predicted trouble, and now they had it. It wasn't till I got back to London that I saw these pictures, and it seems to be a pretty fair account of what actually happened. Fans at the front of the march later claimed they'd been crushed up against police lines at a roadblock. Missiles were thrown and skirmishes broke out. The police chased the fans across Wasteground and up side streets. For the first time in Cagliari, several rounds of tear gas were fired. Some of the people were injured. Many were in distress from tear gas inhalation. Eventually, the fans were forced onto a garage forecourt, and things calmed down. As we entered the ground, we came up against the now familiar stringent security. We had coins, lighters and flagpoles confiscated. They wouldn't even allow plastic bottles into the stadium. But once inside, they were only too pleased to sell you a small bottle of Coke at £1.75 a time. Despite the riot, the stadium had a good atmosphere, and when the England team was announced, it was even better. After 8 years on the job, the besieged Robson had masterfully picked England's second game of the World Cup Finals to experiment with a long-awaited tactic. English football was about to experience a revolution, and patriotic feeling was running high. Robson had bewildered the press, the supporters, and possibly even the Dutch football team by playing Mark Wright as sweeper. Welcome 5-3-2, and welcome to truly international football. Gullit and Van Basten were barely allowed to exist. This time, the extortionate 55-quid ticket almost seemed worth it. I couldn't believe the difference. We saw the ball being stroked out of defence. Moves were actually being created. A truly great international performer began to emerge. Paul Gascoigne was showing some nifty touches.
Goeie actie. Gascoigne. Oh, Nederland, Nederland, Nederland. Het Nederlands voetbal op het randje.
A pretty good match ended 0-0, and the Dutch were very lucky to get away with a draw. But as people made their way to the campsites, everybody knew that the main talking point of the evening wouldn't be the football.
I don't think there's much that the media can do. If you've got the situation tonight, with the trouble we had in Cagliari, whereas I understand that, a group of fans, charge the police who are armed to the teeth. I mean, anybody that is suicidal cannot be stopped. There's nothing the media can do. There's nothing the authorities can do, actually. I don't think there's anything anybody can do about that sort of element. But you just hope, when the Dutch fans tonight, I thought were very good, and they had a different sort of attitude towards, even at the game. It wasn't the sort of the nasty chants of the English. I mean, that doesn't help, you know, the insulting chants that they're chanting at the Dutch team.